Hi guys. In our previous session, we discussed about the origin of Mughal Empire in India. Then we went on to discuss about how were the chronicles produced. In this, we discussed a three marker called how were the chronicles, why were the chronicles commissioned by the Mughal empires, in which we talked about 4 points. It is because it was an important source for studying the empire and its court, and it was written to in order to project a vision of an enlightened kingdom, that is Mughal kingdom, to all the people who came under this rule. Third, at the same time, they were meant to convey to those who resisted the rule of Mughals that if you resist, your destiny is to fail. ये बताने के लिए. And the fourth point, the rulers wanted to ensure that there was an account of their rule for posterity, for the time to come. So this was why the chronicles were commissioned. Then we went on to see how it was done, and in which we talked about the first point from Turkish to Persian. Here we discussed Turkish was the first language to be adopted by Delhi Sultanate people, followed by Babur, the first Mughal emperor. He wrote his Babur Nama in Turkish. Then it was Akbar who made Persian as the leading language because he was there was a close cultural and intellectual contact with Iran as well as Central Asians, and there was a regular movement of migrants coming to Central Asia from Central Asia and Iran to Mughal court. Thus, that might have motivated the emperor to adopt this language, and it was since it was spoken by the king and the royalty and everybody in the court, it was adopted as the administrative language in all the spheres, including the accountants, clerks, and other functionaries. Then we went on to discuss about Persian being influencing the local languages like Rajasthani, Marathi, and Tamil. Then the Persian is being Indianized by observing local idioms. Then a new language called Urdu springing up, coming up from the interaction of Persian with Hindavi. Then we discussed about Akbar Nama written in Persian, then other languages, and Babar Nama being translated into Persian from Turkish. See, these languages and all you need to know. Okay, they will ask Akbar Nama originally written in Turkish. बोल देंगे तो आप हाँ सही हो सकता है. No, सही नहीं हो सकता. It is Persian. So you need to very clearly, specifically underline and learn. इसलिए हम बार बार बता रहे हैं. नहीं तो हम जस्ट आई कैन जस्ट से इसमें ये टॉपिक में ये सब लिखा हुआ है, आप पढ़ लेना. मैं रीड करने की मुझे जरूरत नहीं पड़ता. व्हाई आई एम रीडिंग? बिकॉज इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू रीड एंड अंडरलाइन एंड स्टडी. मैं बस समरी बता के जाऊंगा, बाद में मैं आपको बोलूंगा कि आप खुद पढ़ लो, तो आप कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. एग्जाम में आप 30-40 मार्क्स से ज्यादा स्कोर नहीं कर पाएंगे. रिटन एग्जाम मतलब दैट एक्सक्लूडिंग 20 marks of project and talking, 30 marks, 40 marks, nowhere it stands. So you need to, if you need to score well, you need to read each and every line. अगर एक बार मैं आपको रीड करके समझा देता हूँ, then it becomes easy for you to read again and again. That is very important. Reading just once is not enough. एक बार मैं रीड कर लूंगा, इसके बाद मैं कॉपी में लिख लूंगा, that's enough. No, it is not going to help you. कॉपी में लिखना अलग बात है, लेकिन आप डायरेक्टली बुक से पढ़ोगे, फायदे में रहोगे. आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू स्टडी फ्रॉम योर बुक, फ्रॉम द बुक. पॉइंट्स वहां डालो, बुक में डालो, पॉइंट 1, पॉइंट 2, पॉइंट 3, कहां से कहां तक लेना है. Then study, learn from the book, so that it will give you a lot of confidence in answering the one marker also. So one marker will decide you whether you will score 80 plus, whether you will score 80 less. So it all depends on those 20 marks. So they are going to be tough, and last year it was tough for most of the students. But since we had a very very sincere practice last year in the school hours, the students were able to do really well. Some of them scored 18 plus, some of them scored 15 plus, but nobody went below 10. That was the surety that we had, because we practiced well enough for the students to score. The even the weakest, the lowest scorer got 10 at least, plus 10 plus, correct. And maximum students got 15 plus, and someone got 18 plus, 19. No, just one, nobody got 20. That was the tragedy. If anybody got 20, they would have scored 100. But 19, 18, and all that was the sure shot answer. So you should try for 20 this year. So and here we are talking about Akbar Nama in Persian and Babar Nama First, it was written in Turkish and translated into Persian, and some of the Sanskrit works like Mahabharata and Ramayana also got translated into Persian. One best example is Razmanama, meaning Book of Wars, talking about Mahabharata. Fine. The making of manuscripts, we went on to see making of manuscript. It was all made handwritten in a place called Kitab Ghana. Kitab Khana is the place, a scriptorium, a place where the emperor's collection of manuscripts was kept and new manuscripts were produced, like library. Scriptorium is nothing but a library. It involved a lot of number of people working different tasks like paper makers. Then we had scribes also called as calligraphers, gilders, painters. No, then we had binders, book binders. No, all these people. Okay. Then finally we also discussed about Nastaliq. Okay, Nastaliq is a favorite one. Okay, and calligraphers and painters held the high social standing among all these artists. Then we had Nastaliq is the very important favorite art of handwriting liked by Akbar. Okay, so then painted image. We talked about painted image, in which I said only few points to be remembered. That is historian Abul Fasal calling it as a magical art, painting as a magical art. And he also said painting is not just enhancing the beauty of a book, but also to possess special powers of communication of ideas and the kingdoms and the powerful rulers. Okay, to the people who cannot read and write. So that is all about this one. नास्तलिकली यहाँ पे एक दिया हुआ है. It's a work. Okay, very very important. हमने last session में miss कर दिया था. It is an Nastaliq, the work of Muhammad Hussain of Kashmir, the finest calligraphers at Akbar's court, who was honored with the title called Zarin Kalam, that is golden pen. Who was given the title called golden pen or Zarin Kalam? That is Muhammad Hussain of Kashmir. Very very important question है ये. आप इसको थोड़ा लास्ट सेशन में थोड़ा सा मिस हो गया था. Thankfully, I just got my sight. Fine. Nothing should go no revised. Nothing should go unnoticed. Fine. Then we discussed that no, there was a conflict between the ulemas and the rulers with respect to paintings, because the rulers were portraying their images, which was not within the Islamic tradition. So they said it cannot be done. It should be done only to the perfect human being, Prophet Muhammad. And later on, some interpretation, some modification done in Sharia law, which allowed the rulers to go on portraying their images. We had a best example, Safavid ruler of Iran, having his own court painter painting his image. His name is Big Saad. Big Saad. We talked about Big Saad. Then when Humayun came from no from Iran to India, he was accompanied by two court painters, Mir Shahid Ali and Abdas Samad. So they were accompanying Humayun. So we discussed about this in painting. Then we went on to discuss about Akbar Nama and Badshah Nama. Akbar Nama was written by Abul Fasal, who was a constant supporter and advisor of Akbar. He was supported. Akbar supported him and liked him because he was the person who always debated against the ulema's ideology. And Akbar's main objective was to free the state from the control of religious orthodoxy. So we discussed about this also. Then Abul Fasl started working on Akbar Nama in 1589, and three it was into what are the sources helped in writing this actual records, events, the official documents, and oral testimonies of the knowledgeable people. And Akbar Nama is divided into three books. The first two are Chronicles, and third one is Aini Akbari, and it is a book which contains the history of mankind from Adam to Akbar. Then second volume discusses about the 40 years of rule of Akbar. Then the very next year Abul Fasal fell. He was killed by Bir Singh Bundela, conspired with Prince Salim. Then Akbar Nama was written to provide detailed description about Akbar's diachronic political significance across the time, and synchronic picture of Akbar with respect to geographic, social and and all that. Okay, administration. Aini Akbari, the Mughal Empire, is presented as having a diverse population. Okay, Akbar नामा क्यों लिखा गया था and Aini Akbari क्या देता है, ये सब आपको पढ़ना है. Then Abul Fazl also wrote a language that was very much adorned by all the people, and everybody dreamed of becoming like Abul Fasl. Okay, all the court writers wanted to become like Abul Fasl. Abul Fasal's very liked disciple is Abdul Hamid Lahori, who was chosen by Shah Jahan to write his Badshah Nama, and he wrote no Badshah Nama is divided into three volumes, daftars, and every volume contained consists of 10 years of his rule. First 20 years, two volumes were written by this person Lahori. Then he fell sick and he was very old, and the third volume was written by Waris. So with this, I think then one important one marker, that is Nawab of Awadh gifting illustrated edited Badshah Nama to King George III in 1799. King George giving their gift, getting their gift from Awadh of Nawab of Awadh. Then we went on to discuss about when Britishers came to India, they wanted to study the people and the culture of the people, so that they sought to rule. They wanted to rule. So they asked Asiatic Society of Bengal to edit, print, and translate all these books. So Akbar Nama and Pasha Nama were edited and published, and but translated completely. Akbar Nama completely translated into English by Henry Beveridge, but Barsha Nama was not completely translated, but few works were translated, and even the entire translation still is awaited to come in English. Fine. So that was our last thing to be covered. In this session, we are going to just take one question, 8 marker, that is ideal kingdom. Just one question. Question can be asked. Mughal Empire in India is considered to be the ideal kingdom. Explain, comment, elaborate, anything can be asked. So ideal kingdom क्वेश्चन आ गया तो आपको बस यहाँ से स्टार्ट करना चाहिए, डिवाइन लाइट डाल के स्टार्ट कर दो. Okay, so see, divinity being associated with the Mughal Empire, it's not a new thing. One best example is one of the legends that they narrated was the Mongol queen called Alangua, who was impregnated by a ray of sunshine while resting in her tent. While this queen was resting in her tent, she was made pregnant by the ray of sunshine. Sun is considered to be the god, and the god directly sent his son into the womb of this lady called Alangua. So, a symbolism of telling that divine light present in Mughal rule. The offspring that she bore carried the divine light, and it passed on to generation. Okay, from her son, all the new generation. Abul Fazl also placed Mughal kingship as the highest station in the hierarchy of the objects receiving the light emanating from God. Abul Fazl in his work always mentioned that Mughal Empire being the highest hierarchy of highest station in his hierarchy, Mughal rule, and he said they are getting their light directly from God, emanating directly from God. That is for a Izadi. That is telling that they are. So second symbolism. Here he was inspired by a famous Iranian Sufi called Shihabuddin Sugrawardi. So when Abul Fazl was telling this, he was inspired by this Sufi saint, Iranian Sufi saint, who first developed this idea, this emanating idea, that is far ye izadi idea jo hai, emanating from God, the light emanating from God. That idea was inspired by this person, okay, and he got from this, okay. According to this idea, there was a hierarchy in which the divine light was transmitted to the king, who became the source of spiritual guidance to the. So a king becomes the spiritual guidance to the people. Okay, so this is how is telling. So we are talking about the transmission of notions of luminosity, meaning light, luminosity meaning lighting, light. The origins of Sudravadi philosophy went back to Plato's Republic. Plato was a philosopher. Okay, Aristotle and Plato. Plato was the Greek philosopher who wrote a book called Republic, in which where God is represented by the symbol called sun. Okay, so that Sugrawadi is being influenced by Plato, whereas Abul Fazl is influenced by Suhrawadi. You need to know. Suhrawadi's writings were universally read in the Islamic world. They were studied by the Sheikh Mubarak, who transmitted their ideas to his sons Faizi. Okay, so Faizi and Abul Fazl were the sons of Sheikh Mubarak. Sheikh Mubarak transmitted this idea. See, it is like this. It is like this. Plato inspired Suhrawadi, and Suhrawadi's writing inspired Sheikh Mubarak, and Sheikh Mubarak transmitted this idea to Faizi and Abul Fazl. Both were the court writers of Akbar. Fine. So this is how the transmission of this idea called a light, a divine light idea being transmitted from this, from Plato to Abul Fasl. So fine, cannot be asked in a question separately, but you need to know for one marker. यहाँ पे आपको अंदर आपके आंसर में बहुत कुछ है लिखने के लिए. ये सब आइडिया अगर आपको समझ में आ गया, then you can write how Mughal Empire got this idea called divine light. Paintings that accompanied the narrative of the chronicle transmitted these ideas in a way that sometimes the Mughal Empire is being painted in such a way that the paintings of Abul Hassan shows Jahangir dressed up in a very close jewels and all that, and iske piche ek halo. Halo. This is what is this halo? Halo is left a lasting impression in the minds of the viewer. Mughal artists from the 17th century began to portray the emperors wearing the halo. Halo meaning emanation, telling that it is chosen person by God, in which they saw on European paintings में ही halo ज़्यादा दिखते हैं, और mainly Jesus Christ के painting में, और Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, the to symbolize the light of God. ये halo क्या होता है, halo क्यों है, halo है तो लाइट ऑफ गॉड को सिंपलाइज करता है, और ये मेनली यूरोपियन पेंटिंग्स जीसस क्राइस्ट के लिए और मदर मेरी के लिए ही यूज करते थे, एंड द पेंटर्स स्टार्टेड यूजिंग फॉर द यूरोप दिस मुगल emperors also. So that is the first topic to be covered. Second, so Mughal Empire is a unifying force. Why it is an ideal kingdom? Because Mughal Emperor unified everyone. Mughal chronicles present the empire as a comprising of many different ethnic and religious communities, like starting from Hindus, Jainas, Zoroastrians, Muslims. So everyone was part of this empire. The source of all the source of all peace and stability, the empire stood above all religious and ethnic groups, mediated among them, and ensured that the justice and peace prevailed. So Mughal Empire always said that. That is why it is called as an ideal kingdom. Why? Is irrespective of the religious and ethnic groups in the kingdom, they always talked about peace, justice for all the people. Abul Fasl describes the ideal of sul e kul. Very very important term hai. What is the meaning of sul e kul? Meaning absolute peace. Who describes absolute peace in Mughal Empire? That is Abul Fasl. Abul Fasl is a very important person for you, for the exam. So Abul Fasl describes the ideal of sul e kul, meaning absolute peace, as the cornerstone of enlightened rule. Okay, so he is telling that this is an enlightened rule. Okay, this rule, Mughal rule, is an enlightened rule. Okay, because everywhere peace and justice is there. So in Sulekul means all religions and schools of thought had freedom of expression, but on one condition, that they did not undermine the authority of the state or fight among themselves. सुलह कुल में सबके पास राइट है, आप जो कहना चाहते हो कह सकते हो, यू हैव द फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन. वन कंडीशन है लेकिन, वो है कि अथॉरिटी, मुगल के ऊपर आप मुगल एम्परर के आगे आप नहीं हो. यू कैनॉट अंडरमाइन द अथॉरिटी एंड यू कैनॉट फाइट अमंग दमसेल्व्स. फाइन. सो दैट इज अबाउट सुले कुल. एक सेपरेट क्वेश्चन आई डोंट थिंक सो, बट वन मार्कर के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. नहीं तो आप यूनिफाइंग फोर्स में सुले कुल हेडिंग लिख के आप थोड़ा बहुत नीचे लिख दोगे तो एग्जामिनर बहुत खुश हो जाएंगे. Then the ideal of Sulekul was implemented through state policies. The nobility under Mughal rules was the composite of one comprising Iranians, Turanians, Afghans, Rajputs, Deccan. So in the administration, all these people, Sulekul का एक बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है कि स्टेट पॉलिसी को आप उठा के देखो, वहां पे नोबिलिटी में कौन कौन रहेगा. Nobles were all these people. Iranians were there, Turanians were there, Afghans were there, Rajputs were there, Deccanians were there from South India, all of whom were given positions and awards purely on the basis of their service and loyalty to the king. If you are loyal to the king, if you have good service to provide, you are given awards and rewards, not based on anything else. Further, that's the second point. Further, Akbar also abolished the tax. Third point in unifying force में, ठीक है, abolished the tax on pilgrimage, tax on pilgrimage, that is 1563, and tax jizya. We talked about jizya tax in the last lesson, in the last theme, that is not in the last, I think Sufi saints में हमने देखा था, that is those religion which are non-Muslim Islamic religion have to pay to the Islamic religion ruler, that is jizya tax. इसको भी abolish किया था. The two were based on religious discrimination. So he was not Akbar was not a person who was discriminating the people on religious issue. So he abolished these two taxes in 1563, pilgrimage tax, and 1564, jizya tax. And instructions are sent to officers to adopt and follow the rules of Sulekul in administration. ये भी बताया था. All the Mughal empires gave grants to support in building and maintenance of their own place of worship. Even the temples were when temples were destroyed during war, grants were given for the repair of the temples, as we know from the rule of Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. And Shah Jahan Aurangzeb. However, during the reign of this Aurangzeb, jizya was reimposed. This person Aurangzeb later in his life, in the beginning he was very kind enough to towards all the religious people, but later on towards the end of his career, this person gave jizya tax was reimposed on non-Islamic subjects, which is just slightly away from the topic. Ideal kingdom में ये नहीं आएगा, लेकिन आपको 1 मार्क के लिए याद रखना ideal kingdom में इसको मत लिख लेना, ठीक है. Now that's the third point is just sovereignty as a social contract. Sovereignty meaning you have your own, you have your own identity. Nobody can take away. Nobody can take away your own identity, your own individuality. That is sovereignty. Now, sovereignty, Abul Fasal is defining sovereignty as a social contract. He is telling that the emperor protects the four essence of his people. Four essences. One is life, Jan. Okay, he is taking care of the life of the people. He is taking care of the property, that is Mal, of the people, and he is taking care of the honor, that is namus, of the people. Then he is taking care of the faith, that is din, of the people. So he is taking care of life, property, honor, and faith of people for this one. In return, people have to give obedience and share of resources to. People have to pay some tax for the administration purpose, and they have to obey the ruler. Only just sovereigns were thought to be able to honor the contract with power and divine guidance. You can leave that line. So that is next, the third one. Okay, sovereignty. Then there were so many symbols also created for this idea of justice. Okay, what is that symbol? One best symbol was used by the artist was a motif of the lion and the lamb peacefully nestling next to each other. Okay, lion and goat. Okay, see, this is that picture in which you can see lion and lamb, both are enemies. Lion, if it sees a goat, it will kill and eat. But here in the kingdom, Mughals kingdom, lion and lamb can sleep together, they can peacefully stay together. That is the no that means a religious, there should not be any religious difference. Even a Islamic person and a Hindu, both can stay together peacefully. That is the symbol. Okay, giving some symbols. This meant to signify the realm where both the strong and the weak could exist in harmony. That is the meaning of this symbol. Even the strong and the weak, even the strongest Islamic ruler and the weakest Hindu person can stay together in harmony. That is the meaning of this. And this quote scene illustrated there, it is taken from Barsha Nama. Okay, Barsha Nama book se picture liya gaya hai. So that is about Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan's book. Shah Jahan is ruling, and in his rule, lion and goat both are staying together, and he is trying to kill the enemy. That is the devil, dark. Fine. That is all about this ideal kingdom. Ideal kingdom has got 3 points to be explained. The first point is to talk about the divine light, in which you have to talk about Abul Fasl being inspired and taking the idea from Sugrawadis and all that. Then you have to talk about unifying force, in which you have to talk about Sulekul and abolishing the pilgrimage tax and jizya tax and all that. Then you have to talk about sovereignty as a social contract, in which people, social contract, king does something and people, they have to give something in return. King protects the four essence of his people, that is life, property, honor, and faith, and people have to give their obedience and the share of their resources to the king. So the last in this only, there is a symbol to tell, no symbol being created among the this one in the visual representation, telling us that lion and lamb can exist together, the weak and the strong can exist in harmony. That is the meaning of this picture. This picture is taken from Barsha Nama. That is for your 1 marker. Only one question, one long answer, very explicitly discussed in this session. I think it has a lot of help to you, and you please watch it again and again and underline in your book, read your book, and without reading there is no any no uh, salvation for your answers. You cannot get good answers, you cannot write good answers in the exam unless and until you have enough and more reading from your book. Reading is the key to your answers. So I think it has much to do with this video, has much to do with you. And please take care all of you. Bye bye.